Assalamu alaikum. In the previous lecture, we have discussed that how is vowel chart is used to for description of vowels. So we have discussed them quite in detail. Let's see that what in theoretical part I told you that we are going to discuss description of vowels. As I told you that in consonants we have different articulators or speech organs which come together very distinctly to describe that this is either bilabial or stops or fricative or lateral, depending upon uh, uh, the way how the air passage is blocked. But in case of description of vowels, that is a little trickier. Vowels are less easily described than consonants because there are no distinct boundaries. It is just the mouth. Sometimes it is fully open, sometimes it is half open, sometimes it remains in neutral position. So uh, we don't have any distinct boundaries between them as there are for consonants, and so they are usually described according to how they sound in relation to each other vowels. For example, if you compare a with e, so that is with complete mouth opening to almost neutral mouth opening. So vowels can be described as either front or central or back. Okay. These three terms, they refer to the part of the mouth where the tongue is raised the highest. See, we have talked about different parts of the tongue: tip of the tongue, front part of the tongue, middle of the tongue, and back of the tongue. So these different parts of the tongue, they move up and down when a particular vowel is pronounced. For example, when a, that is called sheep sound, I told you, just like in the word cat or hat, is pronounced, the highest part of the tongue is in the front of the mouth. Though the tongue is not much raised at all for this vowel, but that is the highest part of the tongue in the front of the towards the front of the mouth. Pronounce the word and observe your tongue. Okay. Then it can be described as high, mid, or low. A vowel can be called a high vowel or mid or low, and these terms indicate whether the tongue is raised higher. If it is high vowel, then the tongue would be higher. Mid means that it almost remains in the same position, and lower, it means that it is lower than when it is in its resting position. Okay, so for example, the word see the word oo. So in its resting position, it goes lower than that. Okay, lip position is another factor in the description of the vowels, and this is also one of the parameters or factors. They are either rounded or unrounded, but rounded lips can be lightly rounded or completely rounded, and unrounded can be spread or neutral. Similarly, the way you pronounce the sound e, so that are spread. The front and central vowels as well as the back vowel o are all unrounded. So this is oo, o. They all are rounded. Okay. Then I told you that there are three factors. Description of vowel is dependent on three factors. Number one is height of the tongue, how high the tongue goes, or which part of the tongue moves up, and then the degree of the lip rounding. Height of the tongue, according to the height of the tongue, vowels can be high, mid, or low. Fine. We have discussed in the previous slide. Part of the tongue that is raised, as I have told you, that depending upon which part of the tongue. If you can recall the vowel chart in relation to inside of the mouth, we have talked about the horizontal dimension and vertical dimension. Okay, here in this diagram you can see that the height of the tongue, different height of the tongue are discussed here. See here, see this part, this is front of the tongue, this is middle of the tongue, and this is back of the tongue. And when the tongue moves up towards the palate, so this is the height of the tongue, different height. This is the highest and this is comparatively less height. So that height can be of the following parts. Front, the height can be of the front part, the height can be of the center, or it can be of the back. So here we have height of the back part, and you can see the central part as well. Okay, so these are the different heights of the tongue. This is the vowel chart we have discussed quite in detail, and this diagram also, that this is the tongue. You can see this tongue. This tongue can move towards the mouth. It sometimes its back part moves toward the different part of the mouth. It can go up, it can go down. So this is the tongue, and this is the its uh, horizontal dimension, and this is its vertical dimension. And depending on this, you can have a front vowel or a central vowel or a back vowel. So this is the central part or middle part of the tongue. This is the front part of the tongue. I told you that this is a little longer than this side, because the lower, this is close to the upper jaw, and this is close to the lower jaw. So lower jaw is a little shorter than the upper jaw. Okay, organization of vowels on the vowel scale. In the diagrams that we have just referred, there are two dimensions: high low dimension, that is on the vertical axis, and they depict height of the tongue during articulation of a vowel, depicting vowel height. So you can also call it close or open dimension. For example, if you say if you utter the sound ah, open. If you say the e, so that is close. Okay, then we have front back, the way we have discussed in the diagram, horizontal axis. That this is the front back is the horizontal axis, and this is the vertical axis I had explained before. Okay, so we can say this for any given vowel, how high in the vowel space it is articulated, and whether it is a front, center or back, depending upon the part of the tongue that raises. Okay, different height, more or less the points are same. I have just elaborated it, and do read the given article, the English vowel, then you will easily explain understand what do these terms mean. From here I have just mentioned the main points. The detail of these points you would find there that I am explaining. Okay, so front vowels, according to part of the tongue that is elevated or that is raised, we can have front vowel if front part of the tongue is raised, back vowels if back of the tongue is raised, and central vowel if middle part of the tongue is raised. And elevation can be low, mid or high. Fine, now we are talking about the up down movement of the tongue. So that elevation will result in more or less openness of the mouth too. I have given the example of a or e, fine, or a. So okay, then high vowels. High vowel, for example, in machine, e or u. So the tongue arcs toward the roof of the mouth. It moves towards the roof of the mouth. In middle vowels, mid vowels, just like in a, it is called X sound. It have a tongue position between the extremes of high and low. That is why it is mid. And if you see this a, o, here these are the low vowels, because tongue is at a level close to the bottom of the oral cavity. Oral cavity means our mouth, and that's why low vowels are lower in utterance than the mid vowels. You can pronounce any of these, for example a, and feel that then the tongue is lower in position than the resting position. Okay, uh, then high, middle and lower vowels are also classified according to a front back dimension. A front vowel is pronounced with the highest part of the tongue pushed forward in the mouth, fine, and somewhat arched means somewhat raised. Okay, look at this word had, a and a in bed. E in fit, they are front vowels. Okay, and a back vowel, oo, just like in rule, because back of the tongue is raised. In a, front part of the tongue is raised, and in o in pole, so that is the back part of the tongue raises against the soft palate. Soft palate is the very fleshy part at the back of our mouth. Okay, so the second thing that decides that is important in description of vowel is which part. So front vowels or central vowels or back vowels. These terms are repeated so that you get to know that we are talking about which factor, and that factor includes what. If we talk about height of the tongue means up and down movement of the tongue. If we talk about front, central and back of the vowels, it means forward and backward movement of the tongue. That is vertical and horizontal axis. Okay, so front vowel is a vowel sound whose defining characteristic being that the highest point of the tongue is positioned near front of the mouth. Okay, now see that a, e, e. Just in words at, bed. So they are pronounced. Highest part of the tongue is in the front of the mouth. Pronounce the a. Your highest part is just close to the mouth. When you can see that in front of the mirror when you utter the words. Okay, what do we have in back? There are 5 back vowels. Oo. Now you can easily see and notice in your mouth, the back part of the tongue, it raises O or O or A. So in all these sounds there are the back part of the tongue, they involve moving towards the soft palate. Central vowels, they are 3 in number, and as the name indicates, center, the middle part of the tongue raises towards the roof of the mouth, just like you say like in dove, like in mug or father. For example, the underlined letters have sound sound, and pearl, sound, just like in birth, just like this. These both are homophones. Okay. What is IP or whatever symbols I have used? Like this. All the sounds. These are diphthongs. We have yet to discuss. We have yet to discuss these diphthongs. We have discussed these consonants. All these phonemes, they are designed by IPA, the International Phonetic Alphabet, IPA, and it is an alphabetic system of phonetic notation, just like we have scientific notation. So, and it is based on Latin alphabet. What are Latin alphabet? These are the Latin alphabet, capital and small. That's why majority of these sounds you find they would resemble in Latin alphabet. Okay, so it was devised in late 19th century. One aim of IPA was to provide a unique symbol for distinct sounds. That is every sound or phoneme that serves to distinguish. The purpose to tell you is that you must know that from where do these phonemes come. We are following IPA, that is International Phonetic Association. Fine. Okay, so that is all about description of the vowels. For description of the vowels, please do read the article The Vowel, the English vowels. Fine. So along with that you will better understand, and then if you have any problem, do discuss with me in the group. Thank you so much.